about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So I have heard for years that some of the most popular restaurants like Hooters or Twin Peaks or Bombshells are the place to go. Now remember, most of my friends are guys. So I'm like, where do you want to go eat? Hooters. Like, okay, fine. I don't care. Yeah, and I get it. People want to see boobies. But you start to wonder if these restaurants are going to be pretty relevant this day and age with, our attitudes towards, this just boobies and well, I mean, I don't think our attitudes towards boobies. I think people still like boobies. Even my gay friends like boobies. Boobies are pretty popular. Not for us women. They're kind of a pain in the butt, and they prevent me from doing the sports that I need to do. But at least I was able to feed my kids and save me a lot of money on popcorn in the movie theater. If I could just say, you know what, this is all you're eating. This is all you're getting. Never mind, Mom. I'll wait. In fact, I think my kids tried that the other day. They're like, they wanted to, go somewhere, and I didn't want to spend the money. And I'm like, we can breastfeed. Never mind. I'm going out with my friends. We're good. But unfortunately, we're hearing that some of these restaurants are closing. I think Hooters had to lose, closed 40 stores, according to Daily Mail. Bombshells also has, I believe, had issues in terms of a drop in revenue. And I guess sales at Bombshells dropped 16.2%. This is what I think it is. I don't think it's the anti-boobie because people like boobies. I think it's the food. No offense, but I have gone to Hooters with my friends or my family because, remember, I got a family of boys. And I didn't like the fries. I didn't have a good meal. And I keep giving it another chance because remember, I kind of... Yeah, my heyday was the, TGI Fridays. I mean, we saved up a lot of money to be able to go to a TGI Fridays dinner or an Olive Garden, and so, I'm thinking, okay, well, great. I could get a sandwich. I could get a burger. And for some reason, I just haven't had a meal that I loved. And I'm not trying to criticize them. And so I'm like, look, we could go eat somewhere else. I'd rather, if I'm going to be spending that money, spend it on a meal I like. And I don't mind about women in T-shirts. It's okay. It doesn't bother me because again, if that's the job they want and they're making good money and they think they're making their tips, but is that really happening? If people go to one of these restaurants and they aren't happy with the prices of the food and the inflation, are they really tipping people more because they're wearing a T-shirt? And how does the hiring process go for these places? Now, I think there's a restaurant called Twin Peaks. The outfits are really cute, but again, everybody has boobies. I could have gotten jobs there. I kept turtlenecking and hiding the boobies. I always thought I was too big. So when you think of the money I could have made, but now I didn't want to make money that way. Now, I waited tables in a rib place, and, it was a pretty loose shirt. And I was very, very glad for that loose shirt because the kitchen gets really hot and you're running around. And, if you don't want to wear a fancy bra and you want to wear a sports bra so you could get through your shift, at least nobody would be calling you uniboob. But, are we eventually not going to see these restaurants do as well? Strip clubs are always going to do well. There's always going to be that sort of market for it. I don't understand that concept, though, people. I don't understand the concept of being turned on by someone you can't be with. Yeah, I never understood that. So me and my aunt and some of her friends, when I was really younger, I think it was one of her friends' birthdays. So we were in Florida and we went to a male review. And the guys were gorgeous. And by the way, if you think men are hounds, you got to see these women. These women, not my aunt was cool and her friends are cool, but these women around me, They were trying to claw at these. You know, you can't touch the strippers in female strip clubs. These women were touching, grabbing, throwing themselves at them, and they were so frenzied. I mean, these were 60-year-old women, 40-year-old women, 50-year-old women just going crazy. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, he's cute, but I mean, I'm not going to go home with him. I don't even know who he is. Yeah, he's sexy, but you don't have to dance near me. You don't have to dance. Last thing I need to do is be turned on. And then I just have to go and find a TGI Fridays to eat dinner at. I mean, that doesn't help. So I've always been confused by that. Now, maybe people don't mind. They're like, I could watch and then I could do my 45-minute drive home and then deal with whatever turn on I had then. Or go home to the partner and have sex. But it just doesn't make sense. And so do you really need a restaurant where your food servers are double D's, or I don't know, double C's? Is that something that's that necessary? I'm double D, and in radio, you guys sometimes hear, something. Sometimes you hear it hit the microphone, but to me, it doesn't help. It's not an asset by any means. And so when you start to hear that these restaurants are doing that well, I think a lot of these restaurants, these chain restaurants, aren't doing well because the food's just too expensive. Nobody wants to spend $80 to $100 for a non-fancy dinner. They're going to these places because they want to get in and out of there for $20, $30. And if that's not happening, it starts to make these places less attractive. And the restaurants, bless their hearts, they're just trying to make the bottom line because they have to pay higher wages, they have to pay higher insurance, they have to pay higher rent, and food costs more. So it'll be interesting as our attitudes towards, do people need to be strutting around, jiggling when they serve you your burger and fries, if that's going to be something that, I don't know, continues. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, don't go away.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Now, don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X, Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So apparently, former President Donald Trump was speaking to RFK Jr., and I think there was a videographer at the time there with RFK Jr., and when they were on the phone, he was supposed to stop recording, and so there was a recording, and then I think RFK Jr.'s son might have leaked the audio. I really haven't gotten the full story yet, but there is audio of Trump and RFK talking about, one, RFK considering to join his camp, and two, Trump acknowledging RFK Jr.'s concerns about the COVID vaccine and Trump's opinion on the vaccine. Now, both Trump and Biden get, I think, phenomenal credit for getting the vaccine made, getting it rolled out. Trump getting companies to, come up with something that could, help fight the outbreak that was killing thousands and hundreds of thousands of people globally, now in the millions mark. And then Biden for rolling it out. I have a lot of criticism on some of the ways it had been mandated, and where schools, universities were like, you can't come on campus if you didn't get a vaccine. And the, show us your papers sort of suggestions. And actually, wasn't it a Chick-fil-A where somebody had to leave a Chick-fil-A in California because they weren't vaccinated? I mean, there was all this BS that was going on with that. But it was interesting what had been released. So the New York Post says that it is leaked footage where Donald Trump's phone call with independent presidential hopeful Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Showed that the president was, kind of using this vaccine skepticism to try to show that he and RFK Jr. were on the same page with some things. And so he said, I agree with you, man. Something's wrong with that whole system. And it's the doctors you find. Remember, I said I want to do small doses, small doses. He says, when you feed a baby, Bobby, a vaccination that is like 38 different vaccines, and it looks like it's meant for a horse, not a 10-pound or 20-pound baby. It looks like you should be giving a horse this, and do you ever see the size of it? And so he said, it's so massive that when you see the baby, all of a sudden starting to change radically. So, whether this is about the COVID vaccine or whether it's about regular or vaccinations, it shows Trump does have I think it's very, very interesting, because some people think this is really going to hurt President Trump in that, his demeanor or his attitudes towards vaccines. Others think, okay, it looks like he might be in alignment with how a lot of other people feel. So if he's talking about the non-COVID vaccines and because we weren't giving the vaccines to babies at first, then later they did approve the vaccines over 6 months age for babies. I didn't see a lot of reports of infant death or infant morbidity after the vaccine. But then again, we slowly started to not get as much data. In terms of our current robust vaccination program, yes, there have been reports, and that has been submitted to VAERS, and parents have, on the most part, been very, very happy with their vaccines, when their children do well, but the parents where their child didn't do well, obviously huge concerns. And there's liability protection for vaccine companies, because otherwise everybody and their mother would sue the vaccine company and nobody would get vaccines. And so there's protection where you go to the government if there's a claim that you have against a vaccine. And so when a lot of people told me Trump doesn't know what he's talking about with the COVID vaccine, what's he talking about? Large doses. I don't think he was talking about the COVID vaccine. I think he was talking about these other vaccines where there's 4 vaccines in one, multiple, or some of these children are getting 4 or 5 shots at one time. And, I see both sides. As a physician, I have supported pediatric vaccines. I don't want polio coming back, people. I don't want kids getting hepatitis. I don't want kids getting tetanus. We have minimized a lot of morbidity, with chickenpox and other things that these kids can get. On the other hand, when a parent says, Dr. Daliah, that's a lot of shots. It is. It's a lot of shots. And it's against our human instinct to, be well and have something injected into your healthy appearing child. The vaccine concept is a fascinating one, spurned on by the smallpox epidemics years ago, where we're going to give you something that, can make you sick to make you better. It's a fascinating concept, and it worked. It actually worked. But for some people, there were side effects. And vaccination wasn't necessarily always in injection form. Was it John Adams's kids? One was, I think, very sick with smallpox. So they at the time, I have a lancing tool from the 1700s that they would use to cut the skin and put weakened smallpox in so that you can gain an immunity. So this concept, not to mention homeopathy, the concept of treating fire with fire, is not a new one. Even literally with fires, sometimes what they do to treat fires is they burn or allow there to be an end so that they can't jump to newer, fresher trees. There's, they're just like with surgery. In order sometimes to cure, you have to cut. So that concept is not earth-shatteringly new. This is something that we've had. But it does look like Trump, whether Trump fully meant it or whether he was trying to woo RFK Jr., he does have some reservations about the vaccine program. Does it mean he's going to change it? Probably not. To change the program and what we've done now with vaccines and all the years and time that went into it, not to mention all the evidence we have that our kids don't have polio these days, thank God. And our kids don't have, we've eradicated a lot of diseases. We've minimized a lot of the morbidity and mortality, but it does, though, bring up the topic of, are we giving these infants a lot before their immune system is ready? I have a lot of parents that were, and not to mention also the attitude where, we were very supportive of vaccines, but we never turned away a kid who got turned away by another pediatrician. So there was a time, and I think it still exists, where there are doctors saying, don't bring your sick kid here. If they didn't get their polio vaccine or they didn't get their other vaccines, I can't have you here because I have immunocompromised children that could be exposed to their illness. And the mom's like, but they have an ear infection. Don't bring them here. And I get how they want to protect their patient population. Remember, offices used to have a sick room and a healthy room. So if you were healthy, you went into one room. And I'm like, but what if you don't know you're sick? Yeah, there was a healthy room and a sick room. So when I had mom say, look, my kid has a 104 fever. I think he's got an ear infection. Of course, bring the child in. We're going to take care of all children. I'm not going to let the child die because the parents didn't want to vaccinate. And it wasn't the child's choice. It was the parent's choice. But what this reminds us is the conversation is going to return. The conversation is going to come back as to, are we doing a lot of shots in a short amount of time, and based on the VAERS and the vaccine adverse event reporting system and the numbers and the concerns of parents, are parents going to have other options? Right now, the parents' only other option is pulling them out of school and homeschooling, which a lot of parents have been doing. And many of them did that after the COVID vaccine. Now, if you've noticed, not all schools are mandating the COVID vaccine. They knew parents would flip and not tolerate that. You also notice that flu shots are not being mandated yet in a lot of school districts, but that's coming. And parents are worried about that because they're like, I keep my kid's getting injected. What about natural immunity? What do we do? So, I think RFK's camp apologized for the video getting leaked. I think it's not cool when, any private conversation. Well, I just noticed the average person doesn't really, watches what they say and just assumes everything's being listened to. But with Trump's, appearing to try to be on the same page as RFK Jr., I don't necessarily think that means he's going to change the whole vaccine system that we have. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
Hotshot Secret Stiction Eliminator.
Stiction, that sticky friction, undermines the performance of diesel engines. Third-party ASTM testing verifies that Stiction Eliminator removes 2 times as much stiction than any alternative on the retail shelf. Stiction Eliminator is formulated to be left in the engine oil. It works as you drive.
Available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hotshot Secret. Powered by science.
On the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So one of my listeners had asked me about Medicare and why more doctors don't take Medicare. And then I had 2 patients yesterday through telemedicine saying that they can't find a doctor that takes Medicare. Why? What is so wrong with Medicare? So, it's interesting. Most of the doctors I know that do take it, they're very happy with it. I had some interesting issues with it that, but when Medicare actually pays a doctor, it's not that bad. It's not the highest you could get, but it's not the lowest out there. So it's still fairly decent. So like, for example, when I was getting paid by other companies, on average about $35, one insurance company only paid me $2.42 because the copay had to be $30 from the patient. So I'd only get paid $2.42, but the insurance company would say you're actually getting $32.42 because the patient's paying you $30. And if the patient never paid, you're screwed. So when I was making $32 from one insurance company, Medicare was paying $41. So a little bit more. Now, mind you, that other insurance was still a very low-paying insurance, but so I don't think it's so much the pay. The issue I had with Medicare was, and this was deadly from a financial standpoint, they were not paying for a long period of time. And when we would notify the patients that the bills weren't getting paid, they'd say, Medicare sent us this saying they paid you. So we would contact Medicare going, okay, do you know when that money is going to be deposited? And they were like, well, let's look into it. And then they finally admitted, oh, it's a glitch. You'll get the money eventually, but we're talking months of claims where patients were told we were paid and the money never came. And so I know a lot of doctors were like, with us, we just closed our practice down. We just couldn't, you can't pay rent, you can't pay your staff if money's not coming in. And we basically emptied out any coffer we had to pay our staff until finally I went to teach. It just didn't make sense. But some other doctors are like, I can't do that again. Now, one of you had said that a doctor had spoken to about being audited by Medicare and how they stopped taking Medicare after they were audited. And so this is a good conversation to have, especially since everybody's afraid of being IRS audited and the audited, and So I spoke to a couple doctors who were audited by Medicare, and the results were kind of frightening. Mind you, we just had this $900 million in the news healthcare fraud scheme that a medical entrepreneur and her husband got in trouble for because they were, I guess, getting kickbacks and laundering. Allegedly there was this $900 million Medicare fraud scheme. So there are real bad actors out there who defraud our vulnerable Medicare patients and by, I guess, recommending medically unnecessary things and then fraudulently billing. So that's what the Medicare audits need to catch. But one of the doctors told me that so when you see a patient, there's level 1, level 2, level 3. If it's a nurse visit and a nurse is examining you and double checking your blood pressure or administering something because you came back or giving you a breathing treatment, those are level 1s or level 2s, roughly. Once a doctor gets in the room and is involved and does the history, etc., it's a level 3. And this one doctor said that Medicare said a lot of his visits should have been level 2, even though he was in the room, even though he had documentation, that it wasn't good enough to be a level 3. And he had that, and that was kind of a shock, because then when do you get paid for a level 3, level 4? What? I mean, it just completely reverberated, and doctors are like, "Well, wait a second. I have all these metrics. I have the time spent. Which is why now you see the electric record. I don't know if you've ever seen your doctor's note. It is like 2 or 3 pages long, so that if Medicare audits the doctor and says you didn't document enough to bill it for, and a level 3 is a minimal visit. It's not a high-paying visit. It's not as extensive as a level 4 or level 5. They can at least show, you can't say I didn't document. There's 2 or 3 pages here of patient data and findings and et cetera. So that was interesting, and that scared a lot of doctors in my neck of the woods, going, well, wait a second, and they go, well, then nobody's going to pass an audit. And that was the attitude years ago. I don't know if it's still like that. So you might have some doctors out there going, look, it's just not worth it. Last thing I need is to be accused of billing improperly when I'm barely making $40 on the time I'm spending with. It's just not worth the $40. But another thing that was a biggie that turned a lot of people off to Medicare was Medicare would pay doctors and then decide after the fact that they're going to change their mind and bundle things. So there was a doctor who had been doing cardiac testing in his office, and there were codes for the different parts of the testing, the treadmill, the medication, the review of the report, etc. And so all of those things get billed. And Medicare decided, and some people think it's rightfully so, some people don't. Medicare decided, no, you know what? If you're already doing this, you should be paid. It should imply that you're also going to do the results. And somebody asked me, why would somebody charge separately for reading the results and doing the tests? Because sometimes you use doctors outside. So like with us, we did x-ray in our office. We had an x-ray machine because I could read x-rays and I wanted to see the pathology right then and there, being an ER doc and an urgent care doctor. And this way I could show the patients, I think you have pneumonia, or look at your heart shape. But then I would pay extra for a radiologist to do an official read so that the patient knew, because I'm not a radiologist, the patient would know and get a second opinion. 99% of the time, if not 100% of the time, the radiologist agreed, with me. But I'm like, I don't see a fracture, but I'm going to send this to the radiologist. I'm going to pay for that radiologist to read it. And that came out of me. That came out of my money. Sometimes I never got paid for the x-ray by Medicare. And so it just cost me money just to get the read. But I wanted to do that so patients had an accurate assessment. Also, it's also good for a liability standpoint. If somebody says, but you missed something, I go, no, I didn't. You had two reads. You had my read and the radiologist read. So it was also protection for the patient as well as protection from liability. And so what happened is the doctor was told, many doctors were told, look, you need to pay us back for this part, this other part. I don't know if it was a read or whatever. And so that was thousands of dollars. And if they weren't the doctor that did the test, and the doctor that did do the test and got paid for it has already left, because this was, years of, it could bankrupt a company. They did that to me, but thank God it was just for a few urine tests I had run, where you do the urine test and then you do the handling, where you prepare it for the lab. And then you do what the lab needs to get that urine set up for them and send it out. That's another code. And it does. You have to pay staff to do that. So it should be. I think you get like an extra $1, maybe, or $2. Well, Medicare came back saying, no, we're not paying for that now. So it's bundled, pay us back, or they took the money out. Luckily, it was only a few $100s. So it was no big deal. But when doctors deal with that, they're like, you know what? I can't have Medicare come back and say, I need money back. So, yeah, there's been a lot of doctors who have been, maybe turned off. But there's still, we'll talk more about this on how to find Medicare doctors later. 1-877-DOC-DALI. Don't go away.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So you would think that the Trump assassination event that has just still shocked us and will continue to, for days, weeks, months, years on end, that something like that can still happen. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the failings in terms of security that we are being told of. But you would think that for a moment, even if it's a moment, there'd be a little bit of unity. you'd have Democrats and Republicans kind of say, okay, guys, let's just take a step back. It's not worth a man dying. No, let's just, there's a bigger picture here. Life is too short. And instead, I don't think anybody got the memo. There's even more divide. We're hearing of people posting things on social media, and they might have done it right in the aftermath and didn't think about what they were doing, but it did, show their true colors, where they said, I wish the bullet didn't miss, or you needed some shooting lessons, or and people, and rightfully so, are getting fired. That nurse. Now, nurses in general do not want to see people hurt. They don't want to see people shot. They don't want mass shooting events where innocent people die. And when they post things that seem to show their disappointment at a murder not going through, starts to kind of shake your faith in the healthcare profession. So I believe it was a New York hospital that had suspended her. I don't know if she's officially fired, which is another discussion. Should people who show their discontent that a man wasn't murdered on live TV lose their job? That's a whole nother story for another day. Tenacious D star Kyle Gass has been dropped by his talent agency and their tour that Jack Black, I think it's Jack Black's group, their tour has been on hold as a result of, I think it was Kyle Gass's birthday. I think Jack Black brought him a cake on stage during one of their concerts and asked, okay, make your wish. And he says that the bullet didn't miss. I understand there are people out there that hate Donald Trump. And there are people out there that hate Joe Biden. I don't really think you need to hate a candidate. Joe Biden, he's struggling. I want him to get medical care. I don't think he's the best commander in chief. I think we could do better. But nobody should hate him or want him to die. Same thing with Donald Trump. You might not like him. You might not like, what he stands for. I know he has continually said, I don't even know what Project 2024 is. I don't want anything to do with it. But there are people saying they hate him because of Project 2025, whatever. If you want to hate, you want to hate. We have found that people want to hate, and they want to, and I get it. I'm not a big fan of Brussels sprouts. Do I hate them? No, I reserve hate for Hitler. I reserve hate for somebody who has harmed or wants to harm my family. I reserve hate for those illegal immigrants who raped and murdered that child in Houston. You do something sick and disgusting. Yeah, yes, that's where I reserve hate. But I've had people who have wronged me. I don't hate them. I forgive them. I think it's just because in our faith, that's what we do. I'll never forget. I don't hate them. I don't want them to have harm. For some of these people, death is too good. I'd almost rather they live on this earth and deal with their karma. You always hear people like, oh man, I hate that person so much, I wish he dies. And I go, no, let him suffer. Let him, keep him alive. Why? I don't know. When I get, people get mad and they go for the absolute, but I am seeing online even more divide. I'm seeing people say, look, for those of you who still support Trump or whatever, or for those of you who wish that the bullet made it, defriend me, and it just kind of shows that we're all a little bit in shock that we're not all on the same page. And I have told you time and time again, I hear of families that are split, not because somebody stole from somebody else, not because somebody beat somebody else, not because of abuse, but because somebody voted for Biden or somebody voted for Trump. Who gives a crap? It's politics, people. Now, I get the border situation, dead serious. Our economy, dead serious. Our education, serious. I get that. You know, these are serious issues. But enough for you to hate your living blood, your blood and flesh? For you to not have conversations with your children? I'm hearing from people that their children don't talk to them because they support one candidate. Oh my gosh. Now, by the way, that's emotional blackmail. If somebody told me, you know, look, you supported Hillary Clinton and so I hate you, or you didn't support Hillary Clinton, so you're not coming over to Thanksgiving, I'd be like, what is your problem? Come on. But media has wanted politics to be so ingrained and so much a part of our daily fabric that they're making it bigger than it needs to be. Now, on the other end, we do need to pay attention. I hear that sometimes our local legislature is passing stuff without anybody knowing and or without a lot of notice, and you do need to be aware because these laws do affect you. And it is your civic duty as a voter to be a part of your community, know what's going on, and make sure your community has what it needs. But, you know, so we don't want apathy. But for the love of God, really? And I'm seeing these posts, and I'm seeing what people are, like I said, I there was a doctor who had a Hitler meme basically implying Trump is Hitler. And I'm like, you're a doctor. You don't know the difference between rape, extermination, medical experimentation, and cleansing, and a political candidate? I mean, really, come on. Listen, if I thought a Democrat or a Republican was going to be the next Hitler, trust me, I would tell you. Come on, no. We didn't have the death panels with Obama. We're not going to have death panels. I mean, you know, I think the rhetoric is getting ridiculous. Now, I get how we want to be on the alert. Okay, I mean, look at what happened, you know, with COVID, and you know, the lab leak, and even if it was accidental, you know, we do have to be aware. But I mean, don't be losing your job, and don't lose your humanity. For those of you that dislike a political candidate, never, ever, ever wish that they die. Now, you hear that too. People joke about, yeah, I'd be happier if my ex-wife was dead. Really? The mom of your children? I get it. People hate their ex-husband, their ex-wife. I get that people but really? Okay, you're human first. And you're American. Get it together, people. 1-877-Daliah.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.